All right, I think we are live. I think,
Great.
I think we're here. Welcome everybody to our first Chamber Chat webinar. I'm so excited. We have with us today Jessica Carney, and Jessica, you are a brave woman to be our first webinar host. So
Somebody's got to go first, right?
somebody's got to do it. Might as well be you. And I think we're starting out with something that's really appropriate for people today, because this is a great time as everything is starting to open up, and there's some really great opportunities for people to have some extra income. And so thank you so much. I want to introduce Jessica officially, so let's make this real here. And like many visitors to the area, Jessica and her husband, Kevin, I'm assuming Kevin's your husband,
Yes.
fell in love with Lake Lure after just one chance visit. Moving to the Charlotte area from Long Island, New York, the couple loved the idea that there were so many day trips that were easily accessible from their home. So the first summer, they went to Lake Lure on a recommendation and returned every month thereafter. It sounds just like what I did. They celebrated birthdays and holidays, discovered the great wineries, that's my favorite part, drove the Blue Ridge Parkways for views of the fall foliage, and truly embraced the mountain lake area. Eventually, they decided to buy a cabin and originally intended to use it for their own pleasure, but then decided to share the wonderful foothill location with other people. Thank goodness for that. 40+ years later, they are eager to share the tale of their journey and all of the lessons, good and bad, that they've learned along the way. So welcome, Jessica. We are so excited to have you here, and I'm excited to see what you have to say, because that just might be in my future.
Well, we'll be here, I promise you.
All right.
No getting out. Well, thanks everybody for having me. I love being the first speaker for the Chamber series. And as Tony said, our topic is going to be not just having a rental cabin, but doing an owner-managed short-term rental business. So the difference is I don't go through a property manager. There's absolutely positively nothing wrong with that. But we really wanted to have a small business that we could do on our own and that we could do 100%, and we had the time. So what I want to talk about today is really some of the tips and tricks and things that I really wish somebody else had told me when I was starting out on this whole endeavor. And let me just so here's my topics I'm going to cover today. When I'll talk a little bit at length about a lot of them. So the first one, really what I was saying a second ago, self-management is not one. So again, if you're someone who needs to go to a property manager, go to a property manager. There's nothing wrong with it. Not everybody has the, and we'll talk all about that. I want to talk a little bit about the emotional side of the rental business. It's a business, but it's a house and it's your house. So there's a real emotion piece to it that people forget when someone goes and spills wine all over their couch or something like that. Research is going to be a big topic for me. I am just someone that in my normal life, I research everything. This was no different. And honestly, had I not done all the research I did, I could not walk into this. And every time I talk to someone who's about to do it, I ask them questions about research, and that's the first thing I send them away. Then there's some boring stuff, but it's, it's part of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. So there's taxes, there's insurance, you've checks, you've got repairs, you've got cancel, bad weather, the knocked trees, COVID, which I didn't know would be in this presentation, but it really, really is. And that wonderful topic of people that rent your home, your guests. And then the last two pieces, learn the things you can handle and outsource the rest. Don't try and do it all. There's things that other people paint much better than you, or clean much better than you, or do things way better than you do. And the final thing that I'll talk really is, it's the best decision we ever made. We'll do it again. We're planning on doing it. Actually want to do it in Florida. But if something came up in Lake Lure that made sense for us, we would go do it again. So those are my topics. I don't mind if anybody has questions along the way. You're not going to throw me off. So please feel free to break in. Or if I don't stop talking long enough for you to break in, raise your hand and Terry will tell me that you're talking. And I will try and stop between slides, otherwise I never will have any chance to go. Okay, so this is my introduction. Terry did read mine. This is a picture of us just because you do have me there, but my husband will put him in there as well. We are owners of a cabin that we call Moonshine Manor. So it's a short-term rental in Lake Lure. I'm not going to read this to you. I kind of put it there for future slides, but really, you know, we're kind of barflies and we'll sit there and my husband's a very good salesman. Our cabin always comes up in conversations, but really what people start doing is asking us questions. You know, how did you learn it? Are people really sloppy? And they are. You know, are you going to retire? Are you making tons of money? And I put this here on purpose so you could see, you know, 1 year, and that wasn't our first year, we made $100. So you have to be doing it for the right reasons, and we'll talk about that. You know, we didn't know what we were doing when we started. I do have an MBA in small business operations, so this is something that's always near and dear to my heart, and it's always been on my list that we would have small businesses. I'd rather have 2 or 3 or 4 of them to supplement. I do have a full-time job. I'm a project manager at Lowe's. My husband has a full-time job. He's a real estate agent here in, we live close to Charlotte. But we really knew nothing about this. We experimented, we did things right, we did things wrong, we asked questions. Again, I wish we had somebody like us, but we love our cabin, we love our guests, we really enjoyed the experience. So that's why I really want to share it with everybody, because if you're in the right mindset, it's so much fun at the end of the day. So this is our cabin. We're very proud of it. As you can see, it's got a big 40-foot porch around it, and it's a real log cabin. So when we talk about things, when you're thinking about buying, for us, we did the research. Log cabins get rented first when you're in Lake Lure. Obviously, lake is first, but some kind of establishment is really going to be a log cabin. So we didn't want just another house that we had like our house at home. We wanted something really funky, really different. And owning a log cabin has its own set of challenges that we knew nothing about. Not the biggest fan of carpenter bees. I'm definitely afraid of fire and fire pits, but it's really fun having a log cabin. So it's in Lake Lure, which is where the chamber is. So obviously we fit right in there. For people on the phone who are with the chamber or are from Lake Lure, it's right out Bald, really at the 8th hole of Apple Valley. So it's a great location for us, even though it's not lakefront. And we bought it back in 2017, so this is our 4th season. And I can tell you that none of them have been the same, especially this year with COVID. So that's really my intro. Hope you don't mind that, but I want to talk a little bit of ourselves so that you can see we're just very normal people who had a little bit of extra money and decided to buy a cabin. But here I'm going to start talking. I maybe have 10 slides to run through that really are some of the things we learned and kind of some of the truthful things that we wish we knew along the way. And as we said, we've started to learn, we understand a little bit more as we go forward. I do write on here, these are my own opinions. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, so I may talk about things like taxes or insurance or laws that we've found, but please make sure you're doing your own research and you hire your own people. So let me jump right in there now with some of the first few things. Sorry, it's taken me a bit to change my screen for some reason on here, to do with my mouse. So my first one, I kind of a statement here more than anything else, to thine own self be true. You know, I put down a couple of questions here that you really need to think about, and then I'll talk about them. But if you're doing this with a partner or a spouse, can you work on something that has both emotion and money tied to it? So I know that sounds very simplistic. I always knew I wanted to work in business with my husband. We both agreed on that very early on. We knew that we got along very well when it came to that, but it's emotional and it's got money. And those are the two biggest that people fight with in a marriage. So remember that if you do have someone on the other side, you're going to be bringing more baggage in if you don't have that all figured out ahead of time. What we do is we really know each of our roles, you know, whether that's in life, in our marriage, or whether that's in owning our house. But when it comes to our cabin, I am a project manager by trade, so I'm very detail oriented. I'm very much the planner. Any of my friends will tell you that. I do all of the paperwork. I do all of the requests coming in. I keep track of the calendar. I do all of the pricing. Basically anything administrative falls in my world. Now my husband is very, very good. He's 30 years in banking and he is great at escalation. So anybody comes screaming, that's his cup of tea. So the moment we are out and somebody calls and anything negative, I just hand the phone to him and I'm like, this is yours. Something's broken, something's not working, there's a snake, there's this, there's that. If I see it on a text or an email, that's a call that he gets to make. So we had to figure that out though in the beginning. We had to figure out who did what better. And once we did, I don't think we've ever actually had an argument about anything to do with the cabin, except maybe 10 minutes ago when I couldn't get to some paperwork and I needed him to do it. But, you know, again, you have to learn how to work with someone knowing that it's got a huge emotional tie to it, and then money. You know, we're not always making money. Times like this during COVID, very stressful with their own jobs, losing jobs. We were actually moving at the same time cross country. And then when you have something like COVID and you suddenly have no money, wow, there's some new stresses that you hadn't planned on. So make sure that you can do this with your partner. If you're on your own, make sure that you have the time and the energy. Once the cabin is up and running, and 4 years in, it's kind of clockwork for us. I know exactly when things come in. I've got my paperwork down pat. I send things out. I know when to get them back. It's really, really easy. But in the beginning, there was so much legwork. There was so much research. There were people you had to meet. There were appointments to get things fixed. And just learning that cadence of when people start applying to your house and wanting to come, what do you do? How often do you talk to them? We'll get phone calls at 11 o'clock at night, and you have to have the energy to deal with that. So if you're by yourself, just make sure that you can handle that on your own, or you do have somebody that's a backup for you that you can look to for that. Because having two of us makes it a little bit easier if one of us is traveling or something like that. And then the last piece is really, do you enjoy customer service, chatting with people, communicating at any hour of the night? And I really do mean that. Do you have backup when you travel, you're working, dancing? I use those as funny little examples, but this is a full-time business. It may not take full-time, but at the same time, someone's going to inconvenience you. I remember we were at the movie theater and there was about 10 minutes left. We were watching the Post and I saw my phone blink and there was a text message, and somebody was up on a ladder trying to change the smoke detector batteries. And I just handed it to him and I'm like, holy crap, run outside, get them off the ladder, because Lord knows we don't want them to fall in our house, and I'm sorry you're gonna miss the end of the Post. It's a really good movie. So know that, having to give up some of those pieces is part of the job. Selling is part of the job. Talking with people and communicating is part of the job. Now, I do know people that own rentals and it really is quite hands-off, right? We've gone to plenty of rentals as research. Sometimes you hear nothing, you hit the button for Airbnb, you pay your money, they say pick up the key here, boom, you're inside and you never hear anything. So maybe we're a little bit different. We really do take it one step. I think if you're gonna do it and do it right, you really have to be available. So my next topic is research, and I know this is not everybody's favorite thing in the world. I actually like doing research, so I'm probably a really bad person to ask about that. But there are so many things that you need to research. I would not ever suggest anybody invest in a second home without knowing really a lot of things around not just the immediate area, but so many of these things. So the first one is, where do I want to buy? What makes sense, right? Do I want to have a condo at the beach? Do I want to have something in the mountains? Now, we chose the mountains because we really enjoyed it. Like my intro said, we really did go there I think it was in May, and we loved it. And then I did reservations at the Lake Lure Inn in June, July, and August. So I made sure that we went back every month. So it was somewhere that we wanted to really be able to spend more time, and that we loved the area, we loved the people. But that's not what everybody does. Some people do it because they think they know they'll make more money on the beach. They'll make more money, in a family home that they already have. Just make sure you figure out what makes sense for you, where you want to buy, because it really is going to make a difference. Start to think broader about your renters, and I'll talk about that in a second. Type of dwelling that's popular, that's what I said. We bought a log cabin. So we didn't want another house. We wanted something funky and something fun. We never had a wood house before. You know, it's scary. Nobody's allowed to smoke. You know, nobody's really allowed to do anything with fire. We actually built a fire pit over COVID, so I haven't decided how I feel about that yet. But you need to know that. You need to know, are people looking for something with, you know, 5 bedrooms? Are they looking for a studio? Are they looking for, you know, is it somewhere that it's a beach house and it's okay if it's not really, really pretty and it's not really, really fancy? They're going to spend all the time on the beach. Or is it something where people want to have, you know, parties before their wedding? So really you have to think about what the house itself really is going to be like and is popular. When it comes to things like the competition and the daily rate, you know, these are real research that you can do online pretty simplistically, or somebody like me can do it for you, but really looking at all the other houses that are similar to yours in that bracket and, you know, looking at how you compare to them even before you've bought. And we were talking to folks recently who wanted to talk to us about buying a house in Orlando. And the one thing I had to bring up was, well, in Lake Lure, even if we're not doing really well and we're not high in rankings on a third-party site, there's only, you know, 500 cabins maybe in Lake Lure area. So even if I'm kind of buried, it's not that bad. When I looked at Orlando, there were over 1,000. So if you're not coming up on searches, you might be, you know, 47 pages in. So you have to really do that research and understand that competition that's around you. And then that helps you figure out your daily and your weekly rates. Amenities to increase your values, you know, that is, like I said, we built a fire pit over COVID. So you need to look at everybody's all the other people's cabins. What do they have? You know, do they have fireplaces? Is it somewhere cold that people want a fireplace? We have a constant back and forth with my husband and I because he really wants a hot tub. I can't justify we maybe have 2 months that we don't have wall-to-wall renters. A hot tub doesn't justify that little bit of amount to me, but again, those things do increase your value. So you need to know what you can bring to the table and then what the guy next door is bringing to the tables as well. I think it's important to know what's within, I always say 5 to 15 miles. Now, 5 to 15 miles for us may sound small, but most of you who live up there know it's mountain roads. So 5 miles can take 15 minutes. You don't necessarily have to worry as far outside. You do want to know what's nearby. But I have a huge list that I give out. It's 3 pages of recommendations. There's not a single place that we have not gone to or tried ourselves. Maybe 1 or 2 restaurants that I threw on there from other people, but we've made sure that we know where you can go horseback riding, where you can go zip lining, you know, where can your kids go swimming, where do they do all the rentals, everything. I have directions to the grocery store. I mean, really the different things that are very, very close to you. And those are the things that are important to people. People ask us, how close are you to, where can I get lake access? You know, I want to go grocery shopping on the way. How far is the grocery store? Okay, the grocery store is 9 miles. You know, that's logical. And you can also hit it on the way in. So you do need to know those little things that are right there and be able to give them to your guests as they come in. And then the last one is, who is my ideal renters and what kind of property, you know, fits them? This is something I don't think we thought really a lot about until we had our house. And one of the things I did was a lot of research on, we use HomeAway, which is HomeAway, VRBO, all those same ones are lumped in together. And they had a communication site there. And when you went on the communication site, people would talk, you know, the big strings of conversation all about all of the horrible things that happened to their house. And as I read them, you know, it was scary. We hadn't rented yet. And I'm reading about these parties and all these 18-year-olds and parents book for their kids and then they don't show and they trash the house. You know, and then I started looking harder. And so for us specifically, I noticed that a lot of these that had the parties and the kids were more beach houses. Now, maybe not OBX, nice beach houses there, but, you know, maybe Daytona Beach, you know, the type that we went to for spring break. These were spring break kids. So we suddenly had to sit back and go, okay, we don't want any of that. Now, in Lake Lure, it's really not that kind of town. We're not going to suddenly get a giant, you know, group of 18-year-olds. But we did have to decide who our ideal renters were. we decided that we were going to go toward families, women that got together in groups and like to go to wineries, little family groups or men's groups that wanted to play golf, because we're right across the street from 2 golf courses that are public and they're awesome golf courses. And then we've really, our big thing that we decided that made a huge difference in our rentals was our ideal renters had dogs. So we don't have a dog, we have a cat. She was trying to break in just a few minutes ago. But we know how popular it is for people to actually travel with their pets. And we have a 40-foot porch, which does not have any stairs that go down into our lawn. So really a giant cage, I guess, of sorts, where someone can safely have their animals out on the porch and nothing will happen to them. We really started catering to that audience. I'll tell you that I have a woman coming in 2 weeks, I think. And the sole reason they booked our cabin is because her dog is blind. And she said to me, my dog is blind. I saw you have this porch. Will they be safe? And I'm like, absolutely. Sit in the sun. There's nowhere this dog can go. They can't get off it. There's not a lot of furniture they're going to get hurt on. This is the perfect thing. So our ideal renters really became those couple of things I said. People with dogs, families, women who drank wine, men who played golf. And we really kept it in that bucket. We even put an age limit, nobody under 25 without a parent. And in my documentation, I asked for the names and ages of everybody under 18. So we really, we cater to that audience. And then we make sure that we have the amenities that work for that group nearby, like the wineries, like the golf course, and then our dog things. I can't get my screen to move. Okay. So I'm not going to talk too much on this because this is more, as I said, a lot of this is going to be things that you should be thinking of. And these are real things that you really need to have professionals in these industries look at. But most people don't realize that a mortgage is totally different for an investment property. So if you've got a house that's been passed down to generations and you just want to rent out a room or rent that out and it's been paid off forever, great. This will not affect you whatsoever, right? You don't have to worry about a mortgage. But for somebody who's coming in, they already own a house, in their town that they live in, and this is going to be a second property, an investment property, it's a much different situation when you're trying to get a mortgage. So for us, you actually had to put down more. I can't remember off the top of my head, quite honestly, sorry, what that amount was, but you did have to put down more. You had to have incredible credit because this was a second home. Right? So you had to have great credit that showed that, and money that showed that you could pay for your first home and have a second home. And there were just a lot of hoops you had to go through because it was an investment property. So know that when you go to get your mortgage, if you haven't already bought your place, that's something you have to think about. The other piece is you're going to have things like insurance. That's way different. You don't want to have a normal homeowner's property agreement. You have to have one that covers you if somebody falls, if someone gets hurt, God forbid, someone burns down your cabin, if somebody's got a dog on the property and they bite, if something happens and you can't rent, say somebody does burn it down, you've got a policy that will actually pay you that monthly stipend from the rental income that you're going to lose. So know that there's totally different insurance. I will say the one thing about that insurance is it's much more, for me, it was more of a struggle to get as well. In Lake Lore, one thing I didn't know is we actually have a volunteer fire department down the street. I mean, maybe, I don't know, a third of a mile. It's really not very far. Well, that volunteer fire department didn't count for my insurance. I had to have the city one. And the city one was 10 miles away from me. So suddenly I was ranked a 9, which meant I was paying a fortune because nobody could get to my house when it burned down. They recently built a new one down the block, and it was really funny because the sign was up and it said something about fire, fire insurance, and it said, we're now a 4. And I was so excited, and I got on the phone with my agent, and I'm like, I'm a 4 now. I don't know what that means, but I know I owe less money. And I think I got refunded $400 for the year for that. So know that there's some really glitchy, strange things that you may not know about because you don't live there. And you find out the really hard way afterwards as you're calling around and trying to figure this out. Another thing about your dwelling is if before you buy it, check your HOA. So we've had our area that we live in is actually a lot of rentals. There's been full-time people moving in there actually lately, and our HOA laws are really written for rentals. You can't build a garage, you can't, park a boat in the driveway, a whole bunch of different things that have to do with rentals. So you need to read those policies before you go forward. Make sure that you can rent it out. Not every community lets you rent. And then the last thing here on the boring stuff is really, state tax, local tax. I pay occupancy tax. I pay tax to, the town. I pay it to the county. I have to do it on the 20th of every month. So you have to remember you're a small business and you really are accountable for all of this. And you do have to do these things monthly. So you want to make sure, and it's okay. You can pass that cost through to your renters, but you have to make sure you're on top of that and you are working properly as a small business and paying your taxes. One thing that's kind of fun to talk about is a little bit of advertising. So this is one of my fun ones. I mean, my minor in my undergrad was marketing, so I really get a kick out of advertising. I put a couple of the popular ones here. VRBO, HomeAway is the one that we use. Airbnb is the one that everybody else knows. Then there's all these little third-party ones like Vacation Renter and some other ones like that. Go ahead and research, and I know I just keep saying research, but you really need to research the different types of people, the different types of houses on all the different sites. So we've gotten emails from TripAdvisor, from Google, from Vacation Renters. Do you want to pay, $100 in rent on here? You have to think about how you're keeping your books and how you're managing your calendar. You don't want to have 15 different sites that connect to each other, because you can do something called book, which is literally a one touch, and that means boom, it goes through and that reservation goes to your system. You have two people in different systems do that exactly the same time, you're going to have to turn around to somebody and cancel on them. So you really want to think about it when you're going into advertising. And also know that you kind of get roped into it. So once you pick one, you've all seen leave a review. Well, once you've collected 10, 20, 30, I think we're up to 55 reviews on there, I don't want to leave my third party because my reviews don't go with me. So really do the research up front about your audiences. When we started, and this may or may not be true right now, but VRBO and HomeAway were more family oriented. Those really were made for larger parties that wanted a whole house. There's a checkbox if you have a pet. They really were our audience. While Airbnb, when we looked at residences there were a lot of one rooms, and that's fine. People renting rooms out of their house, or smaller houses than ours. Ours is 3 bedrooms. So smaller groups, and we found that when you do research on the demographics of Airbnb is much younger. So as I said, we had already chosen that we were going to have people renting over 25, and we were going for the families and, the winery girls. Airbnb was not a good match for us, while VRBO was. I also get a lot of traction off of Facebook. So this is on Facebook Live right now, but Facebook, Instagram, all of those, I make sure that we post on Facebook every single day. Doesn't mean I sit down and write a post every day. So I follow every single local thing in Lake Lure. I know probably more that's going on in Lake Lure than I do in my hometown that I live in right now. I pay attention to the beaches and what's closing and what restaurants have a new hamburger coming out. We're friends with a lot of people at the vineyard. So, our Parker Bins friends will post, and we like to repost all of their stuff. So we're constantly putting stuff out there that if you are a renter or you want to be a guest, you're seeing information about the immediate area all of the time. And of course, maybe every 10 days or so, I do put some information out there about us as rentals. We do pay for Facebook advertising. You can pay $10, $15. If you write a really good post, you can pick your audience, pick your radius, the kind of people you want to reach, and you can just start sending it out, or obviously Facebook sends it out for you. So we've had people book through that. And those individuals we have come to us directly, as opposed to going through a VRBO, but you can make your choice how you want to run your books themselves. Instagram, I don't find the most exciting, and I don't think I get a lot of business out of it, but a lot of people like Instagram, so we keep it up there. And then the last one is our own website. And if we have time at the end, I'll pop into all of ours so that you can see them real quickly. But Our website is probably one of the best things that we ever did. I had no idea how to build a website. I didn't know what I needed to do. I personally used a company called Wix. I get no third-party endorsements from that, but I used a company called Wix that was out there and really said, hey, you want a free site. Now, mine's not free anymore because I do have a lot of add-ons, but I sat there and learned, what kind of pictures do I need on my website and what are the amenities I want to talk to. I'm actually on the 3rd version of my website itself. I've gone through radical changes after the 1st year when I figured things out, and the 2nd year when I figured out different things, and I kept retargeting to our world, to our demographic, to what made sense for us. But our website is probably one of the best things we did. And the only other thing, I was looking around my desk to see if I could find it. The other thing that we have, I don't have right in front of me for advertising, is business cards. When I first thought about it, I was like, hey, we should get business cards for this so we can hand them out, in a bar, in a brewery, everywhere we are up there, we're running into people who are renting homes. And we have gone through boxes and boxes and boxes of cards. We always have them in our pocket. My friend Bess always has them in her purse and she's handing them out for us. We keep a stack of them in the cabin. So if someone wants to take them with them and give them to friends, people forget their clothes in our closets all the time and we're shipping them back. So we'll go ahead and put our business cards in there so that they have it. But again, those business cards were probably the best, cheapest advertising because it's maybe $10 for a box of 500 that we've ever done. Okay, a few more slides here. And I can take some questions if anybody has them. So this is kind of a legal piece. I call it, contracts, agreements, house rules. All of those sites let you set up house rules. That legally contracts people who are using those third-party websites to the rules that are there. So do them. So I put here, if I kind of go in order of my own slide, put together a solid rental agreement and update it. So when you go on a VRBO or a HomeAway or any of these, you can find examples of contracts. It takes a little bit of digging. I really wish there was somebody I could have called and said, hey, can I have a contract? I didn't see that, but I wanted a very solid contract. Now, not everybody does that. Some people use Airbnb, and when you put your information in and you hit the button, that's your contract. That's not me. I wanted to make sure that everything under the sun was captured and contractually obligated, and that should anything ever happen, that I had a piece of paper to go run to a lawyer's with. So I have a pretty solid rental agreement at this point that covers anything I could think about. So when I say update it, like I said before, we built a fire pit over COVID. Well, that I put a big paragraph in the middle of my rentals agreement saying, hey, there's a fire pit. You are liable for any damage you do to my yard, my house, your car. You are liable if you're not looking at the North Carolina forestry and that you're burning during a ban and you get a ticket. So again, it may not be the nicest stuff, but you really want to make sure that you know what you're liable for, and you want to keep that in your rental agreement. And then I put here, everybody signs a contract, even friends. So we always laugh that we've had tons of our friends stay there. We've had work friends, just life friends. We've had tons of people that we know stay. And we do laugh because it is really like the friends that we laugh that we have, the wine on the carpet and the lamps that break. And we don't know what it is about friends, but it cracks us up that that's the truth. But we make our friends sign a contract. So, friends are friends, and we've never had anything happen. But I don't want to ever have that uncomfortable feeling if something does happen and we're not sure who's covered and we're not sure who's taking care of it. So I make sure that every single person signs a contract. After we get a reservation, I send an email that says, hey, your reservation's only half complete. I'm going to be sending you a contract to get that back to me in the next 3 days. And they do. I have never, ever, ever had a problem getting one back. I've never had a problem where I've had to use it, quite honestly. But I feel better. I can sleep at night knowing that I've got a contract if I need to ever pull it out. I do ask for a copy of a driver's license, and that's not for any other reason. I don't use it for anything to do with booking, except for the fact that somebody, I don't even know where I heard it one day, but somebody was talking and they said, well, you know, if your house burns down, how do you know who's inside? So that kind of resonated with me, and I said, okay, you know, what if it's Joe Smith who rented my house? There's, you know, 200 million Joe Smiths, and they don't give me their address. They don't give me all, you know, social security. I don't have any information about them. So when I do my rental agreements, I ask them, I have a little spot. I say, put your driver's license here. I'm just using it for safety reasons. I get rid of it when we're done, when you leave. And then I ask the names for all the other individuals in the house, because God forbid the fire department came, I need to be able to say these 6 people are sleeping here tonight to my knowledge. So I take copies of that. House rules, you know, we do have a minimum age. We don't allow smoking. We don't allow parties. There's a lot of wedding venues near us. People will say, well, we're going to have 15 people. You know, can we have them over? I still only got 2 bathrooms and a septic system, and you have to think about the wear and tear on your house. So we do have house rules and specifics that we do and don't really, you know, that we really do look to people to follow. And then my last point about, you know, contracts is only accept it when you're 100% comfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still your house. I mean, we've had the spam people, and I'm coming from Greece, so I can't sign a contract, and I'm gonna have to pay you in check. Okay, those are easy to figure out that they're fake. But, you know, we've had to chase down people for the contract, and, you know, I've got your phone number, I will call you, and I'll have people say, oh, well, my daughter took my credit card and she booked it, or, you know, we had somebody try and book it for their kids. And I'm sorry, this is just not the house for you. So when we actually get reservations in, and it says this on my HomeAway, on my VRBO, it says, please tell us a little bit about your vacation so we can see if this is a good place for you. We want a back and forth with all our renters, because we want to know who's coming so that we feel comfortable, because it's still our house at the end of the day. Okay, we got a couple more slides here. Let me check my time. I'm still running okay. So, you know, I write in this little thing here on the side, call it a clan, call it a network, call it a tribe, call it a family. You need it. I mean, if we did not have the folks in Lake Lure that took care of our house, that took care of our property, that we could call if the electricity went down, I could call if the septic, you know, dies. If you don't have that, you'll never be able to survive. Now, if you live near your property, sure, you can go do all of that yourself, and you probably already have a network. We don't. We're 2 hours away. And at one point we lived in Florida, so we were really, really far away. So having that group is vital to the success of your home. Now, again, if you have a property manager, it's okay. But if you want to do it yourself and you need to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody, you really have to work at that network. So, you know, some of the things I like to say here is visit your property and be a guest. You know, we stayed up there a week or 2 when we first got it, so that we, you know, we were fixing it up, but that's when you realize, like, there's no, really would it be helpful if I had, you know, these kind of pots and pans, or, oh, how come there's never any extra batteries for the remote control, or I notice the light bulbs keep going out, I should have light bulbs here. And you really pay attention to what are the things that you need. So I always say, be a guest. I'm gonna go do that over 4th of July. You know, we're going up there for a couple days vacation, but I'm going to go up there and work for a few days, because when you're a guest in your own house and you live in it, you really can tell what people need. And we try and do that at least once a year, probably twice. You know, I say be a contributing part of your community, spend money. So when COVID came around, you know, we went to Lake Lure, we went downtown, we ate at the restaurants as they opened, we bought things in the gift shop. You know, I was laughing that I was like, t-shirts for everyone. But you need to spend money in your local community. We know, you know, all the folks at the Lake Lure Inn. We know the folks at the brewery. We know the folks at the wineries. We know the people at the different restaurants. I mean, you have to be part of that community in order to really be part of it. We network constantly. I mean, when we go visit there, we're sitting at all the same bars and all the same wineries and places that everybody else does. And then my last one, you know, that's for some special people who know who they are. You know, treat these people who manage your business like lifesavers that they are. do anything without my local contact. I mean, that person in my life has saved us a million times over, and I don't think we could have a cabin if we did not have that person. So treat them like royalty, because they really are, and they're going to keep you afloat. Unexpected cost is always a funny one, right? So who expected COVID? So if you read this, this is the suspension of residential vacation rentals. So we had just moved up here from Florida probably 2 weeks before, and we were having all sorts of trials and tribulations with our own jobs as everything started to shut down. All of a sudden, the city did it, and then the county did it, but they closed all residential vacation homes until the middle of June. And so suddenly, boom, we were stuck. We couldn't even rent our place if we wanted to. And the piece here that's highlighted in yellow was when we did open up, we had to let the property remain empty for 24 hours when we had new stays. So not only was I hit during COVID without being able to have people come rent it, even now I have to make sure this is our high season, this is the summertime, we are normal back-to-back rentals. If you go ahead and you check out at 10 o'clock, I've got someone at 4 o'clock. Well, now I can't do that. I have to put a day in between. And that's normally not that bad, but we'll get a lot of Monday to Friday rentals. Well, now if I put a day in there, I've just killed the weekends on either side. So suddenly I'm down to half capacity, which is the same thing as a lot of restaurants and other things in COVID. Now, again, though, when I say unexpected, you have to be ready for this. So don't take all your money that you have, everything in savings, and stick it into your rental house. God forbid this happens to you. You have to be able to have that cash to float yourself for several months, in our case, for several months, until things pick back up. We had, I think, 12 or 15 reservations this year. We get a ton of repeat business, which is awesome for us because we're totally comfortable with those guests. Every single one of our guests except for one canceled. And so we've had to start over. Now, I will say we're sold out for June, we're sold out for July, and now we're sold out for the first few weeks in August. It does catch up, but it was very disheartening when COVID happened and we just lost everything and did not know what that was going to be for the year. And there was an article you can see I posted from CNN that, people were going to sell out their because they didn't have that. I'm not saying you have to have a giant reserve, but you have to know what you're going to do when something like that hits you. And then I have a couple little pictures on the side, cleaning costs. We had to paint our house. So we had no idea when you paint a log cabin, it's $8,000. That was one of our first expenses. Things like the snowflakes in the corner of that screen. Lake Lore has the every so often. Well, it's $500 to clear your property when all the trees fall down. So all these unexpected costs you have to keep in the back of your mind. Couple more slides. This one's kind of on your renters. Know your target. I've already said this. I know our target inside out. You need to figure out what your target is. It will make you much easier to deal with everything else if you know who your target is. Like, for instance, we know that we have dogs. So it was driving us crazy that there was fur on everything and people were, dogs were sleeping on the furniture, and how can you keep it right when you're not there? So I put together this giant basket, and this basket has some sheets to be used by your puppies. It's got a bunch of towels. It's all the same color scheme so that we don't accidentally use them, right? They're all light blue. I have chew toys because we have a thing with puppies. We have a lot of wooden furniture and they kind of, they chew on the side of everything. So I have chew toys in there. So we have a lot of things that cater to that dog. And people will tell us they get in the house and the dog see the basket and boom, they go right into it. And they're like, oh my God, you took care of our four-legged friend. And you know what? Those are the best reviews we possibly get. Communicating, we communicate more than anybody that I know, probably more than makes anybody comfortable. We talk to you before you get there about why you're going. As I said, we ask you why you're going on vacation. We make you do rental paper. We get back in touch with you 3 to 5 days before you stay to give you all your information. We make you text us when you arrive because we have a key code to get in and I can't tell that you arrived. We don't have cameras. I don't like that. So I have you text me right then and there because if something is going to be wrong, I want to know the moment you walk in the door. I don't want to wait until that next point there that you write a bad review on me. I want to know the moment you walk in that you had a problem and a light was out or something like that. We make them text after they stay. Right? We text the morning of. We had somebody today. I was like, hey, we know you're leaving. Safe travels. And they We had a wonderful time. Loved us pictures during their weeks. They'll be like, look where we looked, and here's our dogs at Chimney Rock. And, you know, we've become just friends with some of the people. We really love our guests. That's so much fun for us. I put bad reviews on here. I told you how we handle them. We just get them up front so that, quite honestly, we haven't had any. We normally have 5-star reviews on HomeAway. We had 1 4, and I think we both had a heart attack that somebody gave us a 4. And it made us laugh because, you know, we tried to learn from that. So we got a heart attack because there wasn't a TV downstairs. It was in the media room. And we went back to the ad and wrote it in there, you know, note, there's a media room and this isn't meant for TV. And you really got to be careful about that stuff too. 1 bad review will kill you. As I said, we have tons of repeat renters. The rules on VRBO and HomeAway say that after somebody uses you or uses their service to get you, you can then make them into your own renter. So once somebody books once, then they can come to us directly after that. It saves them a bunch of money. Excuse me. VRBO does have some, has some fees on there. So repeat renters, we skip those fees. You know, we skip our deposit because they've already left once without cleaning, and we don't worry as much about them. So sorry, I choked in the middle of my presentation. And the last thing I kind of say there is when you know your renters, happy guests make you more money, right? There's nothing we like better than that text that says your house is awesome or we're having a great time or, you know, all of that stuff. I don't care if people text us to ask where the remote is. I mean, they text us for everything and anything, but as long as they're happy, we are happy. They tell their friends become repeat renters. So the small stuff, you know, we really go out of our way to be a very stocked house. We've gone to rental cabins or rental houses where you walk in and there's nothing, where there's 1 or 2 flimsy towels, where maybe there's 1 roll of toilet paper. Oh gosh, I can't stand that. So we treat this, you know, we're known for having shampoo, soap. I think that if you're going to come to a cabin, you shouldn't have to be running around putting saran wrap in your luggage. You should be able to just, you know, go on your vacation and do your thing. Our kitchen is completely stocked. Every pot, pan, anything you can think of, every single thing we have at home, we have as a double. Cutting boards, knife boards, anything that we've ever wanted. Again, we spend time there. Anything that we want, we make sure is there. We've got crock pots, we've got soup pots. I mean, I think we have 2 coffee makers, right? So we have a Keurig for people who like Keurig. We have a regular one for people who don't. And regular one, I have a stack of coffee filters because nobody's gonna remember to put coffee filters in their pocket when they get. We have board games. I mean, tons and tons of board games, books. We have about 50 to 75 videos. Quite honestly, I buy, you know, garage sales, right? So I can get board games for $1. I can get all these crazy movies for $1. I make sure we hit every genre. We've got the boy movies, the girl movies, the kid movies, the action movies. Make sure that we have all of that because sometimes it is a rainy day. And then the last thing is we have labels on everything. You pull something out, it's probably in a container with a label that says light bulbs, that says batteries for the remote controls, batteries for the fire alarms, you know, koozies, and whatever it is, I've got it labeled. I've even got the little labels on all the light switches because we'll have 4 and 5 light switches and you don't know which of the 10 lights up on top it works. So I have little labels on all of those. That's me going a little over the top, but the little details really do make a big difference. And then my last couple slides here, you know, this to me was the fun stuff. So we had a theme, Moonshine Manor. We had a great time coming up with that theme, but we make sure that it's everywhere in our house. You can see the third one over is cornholes, those, you know, so that they're custom. The second one is our koozies. So when you get there, you've got koozies on your bottle of water that we're leaving out. So you take this home. And it's got our website on it, and we get business from our koozies. We give them to everybody we know. We hand them out at the bar. Again, it's just as good as a calling card, but we loved having a theme. It's made it easy to decorate. It's made it fun. It's made it kitschy. We get tons of emails that are like, I just love the name. And you know what? If that makes them happy, it's great. If people remember it, they look us up, it makes it easier for us to find. And this is kind of this is really my last slide. This to me is the reward. So we have a book that we've got about 100 entries in. I grabbed a couple of them just because they made me laugh. We love the one in the back when kids write, you know, best vacation ever. You know, I like when a 9-year-old says I have comfy furniture and a nice house. I mean, we think that's fun. People will write novels. And it's really fun to read those. Those are different than the ones they put online. Those are different than the ones they put on their Facebook. People talk about where they went, what they did. One couple actually bought a house while they were there. I mean, but you know, we like seeing, you know, everything is perfect. You have all spices, you have all little extras that make it over the top. And then these little ones on the right-hand side, I pulled from our website. You know, this cabin had everything stocked more than I have at home. We'd add 5 more stars for the caring nature of the owners. Best stocked house we ever stayed at. Love this cabin, made us feel like a family member. So we really, really care about our guests. And I think that's a huge piece of why we get so many repeat people. But we do go above and beyond, and honestly, it pays off for us, or at least it's paying off for us. Oops, I went the wrong way, sorry. And then this is really kind of the end of our presentation. You know, we are here to help. We do 30-minute phone consultations, and we have packages available to get help. I will tell you, this is all deductible in the first year as a professional service. So anything that we charge is deductible for you when you're looking at your taxes. So that's a positive. But it's something where we just want people to know you don't have to do it alone. I mean, yes, you can learn it on your own. Yes, I've learned it on my own. I would have paid a fortune to have somebody come in and either walk me through it or set pieces up or really help me out throughout the situation. But we're here for you. We've got a couple different websites. Moonshine Moments is actually my blog on all of these topics, and I'll show you what it looks like. Moonshine Manor is our house. I'm going to go out of this just so I can show you real quickly. But this is our Facebook page. So again, very consistent, Moonshine Manor Lake Lure. Make sure you name everything exactly the same. Our Instagram's the same. This is our page on our house itself that you can make reservations through. So this is our Moonshine Manor. I'm going to quickly scroll through it so you can see. Not a very complicated site. I just keep some easy stuff on here. This is our room that's got a bear theme. It's very cute. Love the bear theme. Features about it. And then we have an ever scrolling photograph gallery. I think you saw some of these. I'll let some of the other ones come up. There's those dog supplies I was talking about. That's our 40-foot porch. That's the fire pit that scares me to death. But you can see it really is a real log cabin. And it's just so much fun. We just love that place to look at it. And then the last thing was really the site that I have that you can look at is this Moonshine Moments. So this is where I talk about different things like I was talking about just now, location, real estate, advertising. I've got videos in here, which is actually the page here. Videos on barbecues and lights and guest parking. I mean, just things that you're never gonna think about until you go through this. And then finally through there, how to get help getting started, which is kind of how to contact us. So I'll put this back up here and see if anybody has any questions. I know I went pretty far into my time, but you can easily email me at this email. You can call me. This is my phone number. You can text me. Let me look at that one question up there. I apologize, I didn't see it. Oh, that just said thank you, so that was easy. But please feel free to get in touch with us. More than happy to spend a half an hour talking to you. And we couldn't be happier with the experience, so we love it. So that would be it for me. Oops, I didn't mean to go back. I meant to go get the little picture so I could see Terry's face.
Well, Jessica, that was fantastic. Yep, big applause. Thank you so much. I think everybody who is considering having their own rental property should see this first. This should be mandatory.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to put together. And like I said, we learned it all the hard way. You shouldn't have to. I mean, but it really is so worth it at the end of the day that we will do it again, and we don't regret one thing we did.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So I want to thank everybody who has joined us on the webinar, whether you joined us through Zoom or through Facebook Live for the Chamber Facebook page, and just remind you that Chamber Chat is something that we're doing twice a month. It's the first Friday of the month at noon or the third Monday at 4. That's what we did today. We've got a special one. The next one will be Friday, July 3rd at noon, and we will be interviewing several veterans, asking them what freedom means to them. And then July 20th is Buddy Morrison, Lake Lure's photographer. He's got some great tips and tricks for taking photos for you. Friday, the August 7th, we will be talking to a chamber board member. I'm still not going to tell you who it is. You got to just tune in. And then Monday, August 17th at 4, certified coach and consultant Dolores Chandler is going to help you explore the 4 quadrants of well-being for you and your crew. So helping everybody kind of calm themselves down and get through all of the stuff that we've been going through in this life. So please do join us. We will continue to put additional information together on Facebook, and we look forward to seeing you there. And again, thank you, Jessica. This was fantastic. I'm so glad that you kicked us off here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, good things happen when you do good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.